Okay, I think I have all the bugs worked out now. Except my microphone needs to move. There we go. Hopefully everybody can hear me. And hopefully I'm broadcasting. I don't know. There's been some changes. It's a little bit different than last time I used it. I don't know if I'm connected or not, but it looks like I am. So we're going to go with that and just see. Maybe somebody will pop up in the chat and verify. Anyways. Lots been going on. Been busy. Projects, baby, house, all this stuff back here, other projects. I don't want to say they're more important, but they kind of are more important. But we're going to get back into the swing of things. It's a new year, and we got a lot to do. I've had a lot of requests from some of you guys to, you know, if I'm still doing repairs or still working on this stuff. The short answer is no. I'm not taking on any new jobs right now. I just have I have too many to complete before I take on anything new. But what I'm going to do instead is I have a shelf over here that you can't see. I tried to let, oh, maybe you can. You can see the edge of the shelf. Right there. That shelf goes pretty far back, and it's just full of amps. Full of them. So I have to get through all of those before I start taking on anything new. So what I'm going to do instead of doing services is I'm just going to do amp replacements. Any of these amps that I service, I'm just going to match the price that I would have charged for a repair and hopefully move through them. If you have or need one of these amps, great. I'm going to be putting them up on my website. I'm tired of dealing with eBay. It's just a headache. All the fees and all the garbage. I'd rather just sell them direct and deal with people one-on-one, be able to actually email them and talk to them without, you know, violations of service or, you know, all that crap. But so that's where we stand right now. I have 2 customer projects I need to finish. We're finishing those tonight. Might be a late night, might not be. We'll see. But we left off working on Justin's JBLs, and we're going to finish them tonight. So let's see if my camera still works. All right, that's good. So there's going to be some interruptions in the stream. I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. We're going to have screaming babies. We're going to have barking dogs. This is the new normal. But where we left off is we were looking at this. This is the shell that the amp goes in, and this was cracked and pretty badly damaged. I did solvent glue it. You can see the big chunk here that came out. I solvent glued it on both sides. I didn't patch it. It's just really out of the realm of, you know, what I want to do going, you know, if this was a full restoration and I was like selling the unit, you know, I might go, you know, crazy on it, but I think this is good enough to hold. If it doesn't, I'll give the owner some tips on how to improve on it. Basically, you would take some wire, like screen for like your screen door. It's got to be metal, and you lay it over the top of it, and then you heat up a butter knife with a blowtorch, and you just melt that metal inside the plastic, and it'll create like a patch. I didn't want to go that far, and I think the glue is going to be good enough. I hope. And then for these bosses where the screws were like stripped and broken out, I put the screws in, filled the voids with epoxy. It's not like an ultra hard epoxy. It's a little bit like rubbery. Let it harden, and then I back the screws out. So hopefully these will take a screw without exploding. We'll see. The other ones seem to be somewhat okay, but since this gasket's kind of roached, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay a small bead of RTV around the edge before I place the plate on. I'll put these screws in, and I'll just make sure I package it really, really good before we ship it back, and hopefully it'll make it in one piece. Yeah, the problem with this is it just gets brittle over time. Now you really don't have to have this. Um, the only reason is to prevent like getting little air leaks coming out from, where the pieces go through the plate amp. Um, it's not a deal breaker if you don't use this. You just have to, remove this hot glue and pull this wire strain relief out, and you could use the amp without it. Um, it's nice to have it. We're trying to save it, but I didn't want to go through, anything that could potentially make it worse. And like I said, I think the solvent glue is going to be good enough to hold it. So I did try doing part of a stream. I thought it was working. I don't know what was going on. There's been some changes to OBS Studio and some changes to YouTube, so hopefully we are at least recording if we're not live. But where we left off is I'm going to put this plate. This is the last one that I recapped. The other one I still have to put the big caps on. We'll get to that next, well, after the break. But I want to get this guy in, plug it up, do some tests on it, see if we get any sort of action. This guy does have two different wire sets coming out of it. I don't recall. I think these ones are for like the LEDs, and I believe that the thicker ones are for the sub. I know that. So I don't know if these have two drivers in them or one, or these might be full range. Are they full range? No. It's a sub. I'll have to investigate because I never really worked on one of these before. But what we're going to do is put some of my favorite stuff on there, some Dow 340. Hopefully we won't make a mess and get it all over our hands and everything. I really hate this stuff. Any thermal compound, I just hate it. It makes a mess. But we're just lightly going to spread a thin film on. You don't need a lot of this stuff. They come from the factory just covered in this goop, and you don't need that much. The whole purpose of thermal compound is to fill any little like pits or cracks in the metal surface to make sure that you get like a good even connection. You don't need a gallon of this stuff to get good thermal conductivity. So put a little bit on the one side of the mica, put a little bit on the other. You'll notice I'm just using a Q-tip and just kind of lightly dressing it. You don't need a lot. Just the even, thin coat. This stuff has silicone oil in it, so it spreads pretty good. There's different compounds out there, even the cheap Radio Shack stuff worked pretty good, but RIP Radio Shack, they're gone. But all I'm doing is I'm just dressing it a little bit. And trying not to get it on my fingers, because if I get it on my fingers, I'm going to get mad. I hate getting this stuff on my hands. And I could replace these with silicone pads, but they originally had these mica things on there, so I'm going to use the mica. Now these ones, I don't recall what they had on them. I don't even remember if they did have them, so one of the things that I did when I was trying to make the first video is I just did a continuity test. And if none of these are, beeping, they're not connected on the board, they probably shouldn't be connected on the plate. You don't ever want to use the plate for like a conductive path, so they're going to get some insulators too. I just need to find them. I have done a lot of cleanup. I mean, I know it doesn't look like it, but I've done a lot of organization, like for my tools and stuff. Like I've been 3D printing little screwdriver holders for all my drivers, and for my soldering tips, I made one of those for that. I made holders for all my little flux pens and all that crap, so I haven't been totally slacking off. I've just been, busy with other things. So let's find these thermal pads. And it's going to take me a minute because I have no clue where they are. Alright, here's two right here. It's very good chance that that the original pads that were on these were either damaged or, you know, got thrown out or whatever, but it doesn't matter. We tested, we know they need some insulators on them, so we're going to put some new ones on there. And again, you know, we'll dress both sides. And I'm not, you know, totally blasting these with thermal compound. I'm just putting a little bit on there. This one needs a little bit more underneath. You know, you want the pads to stick, and you want them to get a decent conductive path. But mic is an insulator. Like it doesn't conduct heat very well. It conducts heat okay, but you're not gonna. You know, it's not like having a piece of copper under there or something like that. It just so. And silicone is a silicone, whatever, is an insulator too. So you don't want to put a lot of this stuff on there because you're actually reducing your heat transfer. And making a mess. Alright, short screws hold the plates on. And I haven't glued anything down on these yet. I usually throw a blob of silicone down inside here. This little jumper wire will get a little dab on it. But before I do any of that, I want to, you know, at least test this thing and make sure it fires up. Because these were in an unknown state when we got them. I think they were working. It was just time for a recap. Maybe they're buzzing or humming or... But they're going to be like new now. At least we hope they are. And this is the hard part, figuring out where all the dang screws go. My screwdriver from like the 1940s is not very magnetic these days. So the little T0220s, you know, we can put a little fresh dab on these guys too. Just a little bit. Dress them up. That's this guy here and over here. So yeah, I'm hoping when we put this guy back in and button it up, she's gonna fire right up and give us some good sound. And then we're gonna get these back to their home and out of my work area. As much as I enjoy working on them, I don't like hoarding amps, but like I said, I've been busy, family and all that stuff, and that, you know, that's got to come first. And I did say in the last video, I'm only charging them for one of the repairs. The other one, since I did take my sweet time getting it going, the other one will be on the house. Alright, so they're screwed in. Next I want to check the thermal pads and make sure that they're... Man, these things really are heavy. This big honking transformer on here has some mass. Should zoom out just a little bit. There we go. I hear the baby crying upstairs. Alright, we're pinched a little bit. Are we pinched by the device or are we pinched, yeah, by the device? So I want to just line this up. I want to make sure that it extends over all the sides. So when we clamp it down, we're at no risk of shorting out. That's the most important thing. We don't want any shorts to the plate, because then everything we just fixed will blow up, and I probably don't have any of these outputs, so we don't want to blow those. And we're hoping that they're not already blown, which I don't think they are. So we're just taking our time, making sure that they're flush. Peel back the device if we have to, push it down, making sure it sticks out on all sides. Same with these guys down here. These ones are a little thicker, they're a little more forgiving. Alright, that looks good. This one can go up maybe just a little bit. Alright, so we'll kind of press them and seat them into the plate. And we got all the glue off, we got all the caps replaced, so you know we're at least 50% there. That's the hard part about any of these repairs, is getting the caps off without damaging anything. Let's put something under that. I don't know what that is, but that looks like a good kickstand. Alright, these little clamps, I don't really like these, but a lot of amps use them. They're just like kind of pivot clamps, but the reason I don't like them is because over time they kind of lose their springiness. I need to magnify this screwdriver. This is my great-grandfather's screwdriver. I've talked about this. It's an old Stanley. I'm not a big fan of Stanley anymore, but back in the day they made good stuff. Made in the USA. Now it's all made in who knows where. You can tell it's good steel because I just touched the magnet to it and it magnetized. Alright, let's get the heat sinks back on. Heat sinks on these use the longer screws. And the crazy thing about these is you can't really crank them down. You got to be a little, dare I say, weak, but you don't want to really wrench them down. You just want to get them snug. Because if you really crank them down, you bend them, and then when you bend them, you lose all of their force to hold them down. Oh, this one's got something on it. I don't know what that is. Looks like oil. So I don't know when the last time these bad boys were ran or operated, but yeah, it's glue. That's what that is. It's covered in glue. Our favorite, brown glue. So again, you know, light crank when you're sucking down the components. Don't go bananas on them. Make sure that they're not touching any part of the transistors. You want them only on the plastic part. Another reason you don't want to tighten them down crazy is if you go too tight, you risk cracking the package too that they're connected to. We don't want to do that either. I don't know if the owner's watching any of these, but I'm going to give him a phone call tomorrow. Hopefully he'll be happy to hear from me. But yeah, we're gonna start moving through amps. We got a lot to do, and I'm tired of looking at them, to be honest with you. I want to get cleaned up, and I have some really cool projects I want to get to. You know, I focus mainly on audio repairs, but I have some computer repair stuff I want to do, some vintage computer stuff. I have some Apple Watches that I want to dig into. Just things that I've laying around, Lego stuff. Like I have one right here. This is for one of my buddies at the Lego convention. You know, it needs a recap. All these caps are bulged and failed. This is an RCX module. And they're cool, you know, like it's old and um, I don't really know if they're hard to come by, but as they start to get older and fail, you know, people are going to be throwing them out, so they're going to get rare at some point. So if I can revive it and get it working again, cool. And I can because I've done a couple of those. So yeah, once I get caught up on projects and get the shelf cleared off, then it's open season on amp repairs again, and then I'll start taking in all the customer requests that I get. But I need to get my parts bin sorted out. I just have so many different pieces and parts and power supplies and um, I'm just going to throw it all up on my website. I'm going to put a link down in the description for each one. And hopefully we can get some people's stuff repaired and I can get rid of some of these amps. One of the projects I'm going to be working on, I've been building a CNC machine, and I've been building it for 10 years, which is quite a long time. But when I found out where that one with all the glue goes, that one used to go here, but it's okay. He's going over there now. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I've been working on this CNC machine, and it's going to be a cool project. It's like a 36 by 36 by 10, 10-ish. And one of my other passions is I like designing and making clocks, and I specifically like the ones that have giant wooden gears on them. I think that's cool, but I've done the scroll saw thing, and that sucks. And it's slow, and it's not very accurate, so I decided, hey, why not just build a CNC machine? That might be cool to have. So I bought a kit on eBay. It's all aluminum, and I mean, it's a really good setup. I'd never finished it. So we might make some videos on that. I've been doing 3D printing. Like, that's one of my 3D printing projects. That's a clock gear. We'll do a little video on that. That'll be a totally separate thing. I might do that on my other channel too. I don't know. We'll see. I've never made a video on that channel yet, but I might maybe down the road I'll just decide to keep this audio only, and then I have a daughter channel on this account that's for weird stuff and one-offs. We'll see. So I was wondering what those wires do that come out of the box, and one of them is for the LED because it's there's a switch to turn it on and off, so it must have a front panel LED on it somewhere. Pliers. Pliers seem to be a hard thing to come by. One, because people are constantly borrowing them from me, and two, just because I'm always using them on something and I never put them back in the same spot. I gotta grab a pair of pliers. Let me mute this really quick and go grab some. No clue where my pliers are, but we have a small crescent that works too. What I need to do is I have a 3D printer sitting right there. I should just make myself a little nut driver for these. That would be better anyways, because then I wouldn't have to worry about scratching the plates when I'm screwing this stuff on. So we will be gentle with this. And there's a washer under it, so the washer kind of helps keep it off and keep it from scratching the plate. We don't, you don't need to go 8,000 pound gorilla on these. Gentle, be gentle. Line up our pot knob. I like to make sure that it goes between min and max. They never actually line up correctly. Close enough. Alright, turn the power on. We're getting there. We almost have one back together and ready for testing. That didn't take too long. Let's clean up the silicone so we don't get that all over the place. Alright. Let's see. So now we got to make some connections. And that is going to be hard to do. They don't really give you a whole lot of wire room to move around in here. I don't necessarily want to put it inside of the housing yet. How do we do this without... Well, we might have to, just because the wires are so short. What I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to test it, then silicone it, then put it all together, put the screws in, maybe throw a couple of zip ties in all these holes just to kind of reinforce it to the plate, so when it's, being shipped back, it's got a better chance to survive. I'm going to put 2-inch thick foam all around this thing. Definitely ship them in separate boxes. There's no way that these two will go together. I don't want to risk any damage, because this plastic is just hard and old. How do we test these? I guess I could go directly off of this guy. But there's two connections, though. This one's kind of throwing me for a loop. Like, it's only a subwoofer. It's got these black and white wires, which I assume are for the LED. There might be two lights on the front. Then it's got a thicker set of these green ones. And then it has this black and red. Are there two drivers in there? Maybe I should Google this thing and see what it actually looks like. I don't think I've ever looked this up, to be honest with you. S412P. Let's see what this thing looks like. I'm Googling right now. Do I have anything on here that nobody can see? No. Let's see if I can go right screen. And it's black. Left screen? No. Alright, well, we'll get that set up later. We don't need to do that right now. I'm used to broadcasting on the right screen. Like I said, everything's been changed since I did software updates, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, what was that? 412p? Yeah, 412p. Floor standing speakers. So this is a... I have no idea how these things work. Unless there's two amplifiers in these bad boys. They look pretty badass, though. I bet you these things weren't cheap. But it only has a subwoofer input. Unless I'm missing something here. Or is it a full range input? No, it says subwoofer. Did these have 2 amps, maybe? This is a bi-amped unit? That'd be kind of crazy. Sir, look at that. There's a service manual for it. That's pretty rare. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. So they have a subwoofer amplifier for the just for the sub, and then there's inputs for the mids and highs. So maybe this guy goes into the crossover and adds a little bit to the mid. I don't know. We'll have to put it on the scope to find out. Let's not waste any time on it. I guess we can just get the speaker right off of this guy. I really don't want to do that, but I also really don't want to mess around with these short wires. Should have thought about this ahead of time. Maybe I can, here, I think we can, ooh, this is risky business though. Maybe we can just kind of rest the amp on the plastic gently so it doesn't crack. Get our green and I can't even reach those in there. How the hell did they put these together in the factory? They must have put the wires through the grommet first without locking it into the plastic and then locked it in. I'm not even lined up on that. I just want to be so delicate with this plastic. My luck, the whole frickin' thing will split in half. Then I'll be upset. There we go. Can't really see in there. Sorry if you're looking at my head. Alright, we got that in. These little ones go to the other thing, don't they? Damn it. Well, let's see if the subwoofer part works. If the subwoofer part works, we're probably good on the rest of it. Let's turn that off. Our volume's down. I don't even know if my testers are set up. We're going to go into the scope first. I do have a way to put the scope on the screen now. Let's try this out, because this should be pretty cool. We'll dig more in, a little bit more into this guy as we get it back together. But I have this little battery-powered scope. I don't remember who makes it. It's a DSO something, something. But this thing is cool, and I will show you why. It has video output on it. So if I can remember how to activate it, you gotta go to menu and push some buttons. I gotta look at the manual. Oh, here we go. It's a DSO 1511G, cheap little battery scope, but the cool thing about it is it has this video output thing, and I can run it into a cheap capture card, and you guys can actually see the waveforms clearly instead of having to try and look at that tiny little picture on the scope. But the menu kind of sucks on this thing. So, alright, so video output. It says open menu and long press run and stop to enable video output. Open menu, go to set. Alright, so go to menu, go to set. Okay, AV mode is enabled in the corner. So let's see if this thing will actually show up on the screen. I did set this up at 1.2. Oscilloscope. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Sweet. Now, you know, it's a pretty cheap scope, but we're not measuring timings on like a computer bus. We're measuring audio signals, so we're gonna say this is probably good enough. I do need a set of probes though, which are not readily available. Told you I've been out of the loop a little bit on the audio stuff, so I wasn't lying. There we go. At least I can somewhat find things though. That's part of the battle, finding where all this crap is. I got a lithium battery charging up here. It's about to burn my house down. Alright. Let's see what we get on Baby Scope. That's cool. I mean, it's not the best picture in the world, but I mean, it's good enough. Let's see what the little test signal looks like. And these are cheap probes. Everything's cheap. I don't use the good scope unless I really need it, but we should get a square wave on there. And we get nothing. This has a function generator built into it too. At least I think it does. It's got a music mode, and just noticed that. Did my camera mirror when I turned this on? It looked like it did. It did. My camera mirrored. We'll have to fix that too. We're all out of whack here. I know there's a function generator built in, and this is like where you can test the probes. I don't know how to turn it on. We don't really need that right now. All we need is an output waveform. And we need it on green and yellow. So I'll hook the probes up. Our volume's at 0. Our first test is going to be making sure that we don't have any smoke. We don't want our wires touching. I usually tie a knot in one of them. I know you guys can't see that because I'm off screen right now, but I just put a little knot in there. That ensures that the wires really can't touch. And then I'll clip the probe on. Alright. Let's cut off the zip tie here. And let's do some... Oop, hold on. Plugs are all commandeered at the moment. Alright. Power's going to be off. We're always going to start current limited just because I don't know what this thing's going to do. I don't know if I made a mistake at some point. It's set to manual on, power switches on. Didn't check the fuse. Probably should. Can't get it out. Let's see. These should get it out. Fuse looks good. Let's see. It's supposed to be 4 amps. Let's make sure it's the right fuse too. As I get older, my eyes start to get worse. T4. All right. It's the correct fuse. Oh, my meter's shutting off. All right. Let's give it an audio signal. We're at 40 hertz right now. It's a little low, but we'll stay at 40 hertz. We don't have a speaker hooked up. Let's give it an audio input. That is really tight. I don't want to break that jack. Gotta be gentle with this stuff. If your things are really tight like that, spread the prongs out a little bit. They don't need to be nuclear tight on there. Because those connectors on there, that's this shitty plastic's on there and it gets weak. You don't want to break that. Alright, here we go. Power up. Oh, I heard a click. So the relay powered up. Let's see if we get some volume. Oh, look at that. Look at how clean that is. I'm feeding it 40 hertz. It says we're feeding it 40 hertz. We got nice gain. That's a clean signal. That's pretty good. That's pretty good right off the bat. That's promising. All right, the volume's at 10% right now. Let's start cranking the frequency up here. Go to 50, 60, 100. So we're going to hit crossover probably. Yeah, so you can see that, you know, the wave is starting to shrink in amplitude. That's the crossover kicking in. I'm guessing these are crossed somewhere, you know, yeah, about 150 is about where they're. 100 hertz, let's see, 60. So there is some pretty good gain at the lower frequencies. 100 is where it starts to roll off, and then about 150 is it. That's pretty cool that we can visualize that, though, right on the screen. No more trying to aim the camera. We don't want 60 hertz. Let's get on to 40. So this does not have a manual crossover on it. So everything's already built in. It's designed for, you know, the speaker. I'm happy with that. It appears that we have this up and going. So I'm going to turn it down. Actually, no, I'm going to leave the volume up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the power off on my switch here. I want to watch it bleed down. Alright, so now we're dead. Now we're going to put a speaker into it. You guys probably won't be able to hear it. I want to hear it. We saw it. We know it's working. I want the satisfaction of hearing my victory. Except I don't know which wires go to my speakers. And I don't know where my jumper leads are. Like, I rewired everything on the bench. That was one of the things on the to-do list. Alright. Of course, it's the wire that's too short to reach to me. Why wouldn't it be? Short wires of the speaker. I do have my little jumpers. Dead man's jumper. It's just a male-to-male. I'm just feeding this into a Tang Band 10-inch that came out of a Logitech C5500. But I wanna listen to it. You know, like I said, it looks good, but I want to hear it too. So, and you know, we can scope it at the same time. Why not? We'll get a little bit of everything. So I'll get to hear it, and you'll get to see it. How's that? Maybe one of these days I'll get fancy and I'll start piping audio into the feed. Put a little mixer in there or something, and we haven't got there yet. We're not that fancy yet. Right now we're just making sure that things work so we can get them back to their owner. Alright, we don't have anything touching. Relay clicks. I see it, but I don't hear it. Why don't I hear it? Let's see if I can feel it. Oh yeah, I can feel it. There we go. So I must have, yeah, okay, I see the issue. I must have bumped the volume at some point. My input volume was way low. Yeah, now we're bumping. Still running current limited just to be safe. We can flip it to full power. I'm not even lighting the bulb up though. This bad boy is humming. Now, I believe these are for, I think it said for a 4 ohm output. Somewhere on there. Yeah, 4 ohms, and we're running it at 8 ohms, so we're not going to have quite the draw on the amp, which is fine with me because we don't need to push it hard for testing. We're, way off on our voltage there. There we go. Just checking our voltage regulators, making sure they're not getting hot. Giving it a little bit of the sniff test. You got to be careful when this thing's powered on and you're sticking your hands in there. I'm just looking for, anything that's getting hot, anything that smells like it's getting hot. More so just to make sure that everything's operationally sound. Like I said, this one's going to get some silicone around the edge of the case just to kind of help this plastic a little bit survive. So, I want to make sure everything's safe and sound before buttoning it up. And I mean, I'm very happy with the way that looks. There doesn't seem to be any distortion in there. There we go. That's max volume. Now I have the input limited. I could go higher on the input, but there's really no need to. We can peak to peak 46 volts out at 40 hertz. I mean, if you're running an 8 ohm speaker, or a 4 ohm speaker, that's gonna be pretty loud. Especially with your input, being where it should be at. But it's always better to test at lower levels than to just whack this thing with, whatever you can throw at it. And I'm making sure that the pot's not scratchy. You don't want this thing clicking and glitching and making all kinds of noise. Does have some roll off at 40 hertz. It did like a little bit higher. Yeah, there's some good 50, 30. And we lost output. I don't know if that's something I did. Yeah, I bumped the power cord. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. One down, one to go. Again, I'm going to shut it off on the power supply because I want to watch the waveform disappear so I know that the caps are mostly drained of whatever they had in them. And you can hear it kind of phase out, or at least I could hear it. So turn our volume down. I'm leaving it on manual on and off. Turn the green LED back on, turn the switch off. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm gonna get it buttoned up. I need to put a jack saver on here. Put a cheap jack. This is a pretty good RCA. I normally run I don't know what the old timers would call it, a socket saver. I just call it a cheap RCA jack. Oh, this box isn't getting any lighter. Because the high quality jacks are hard to get on and off. And like I said, you really risk damaging this older equipment when you have a king jack. This is just a cheap Radio Shack splitter, but these are, I don't want to say they're cheap. They just slide on and off easier. I don't know. They don't have the spring force that the other ones have, and I don't have to worry about damaging anything when I plug them in. So I like using these. Plus, some of these amps have 2 inputs, so I can get them both. A mono to stereo to mono input. Some of you will understand that. Alright, we're good here. Power's off. We're going to unplug. And I'm going to button this up. I'll test these other leads just to see if there's audio coming out of them. I don't suspect there is, but there might be a little bit of mid-range frequency that passes through these, so you can hear the dog barking, sorry. Dog barking, baby crying. Like I said, that's the new norm. Um, there might be a little bit of mid-range coming out of these that feeds that one center speaker on there. I'm not sure. But I'm going to button it up, put the screws back in as carefully as I can, put a bead of RTV around the edge of this, zip tie all these holes with some cheap small zip ties, and then this one will be good to go. So, not bad. This was somewhat of a quickie, but like I said, I got to get these done for this guy. Like I want to get him back to him. So, we'll dig into some other stuff. What time? It's early. It's only 9 o'clock, so I'll need a coffee and a snack break. I'm gonna get this button back up. I'll do that off camera. I mean, it's boring. Nobody needs to see me repackaging a speaker. I'll do a final test on it, and then I'll start a new feed when we're doing the second one, getting that one buttoned up. I think we still have some caps to put on that one. We'll do a review on it, but this is good to go. So I'm happy with it. Hopefully he'll be happy with it. I'll do the siliconing of the caps and all that. I won't forget to do that. That'll happen when I do the silicone for the outer rim here. And we should be in good shape. So one down, many to go. Hope to see some of you guys on here, but for right now, I'm back. I don't know how often I'll be able to stream. I'm going to try and do 1 day a week. I think 1 day a week is doable. Or maybe 1 amp a week. We'll see. I don't know. If I can do like a weekend where I have an open weekend and nothing else really important going on, maybe like Friday nights would probably be the best nights to do it. Because the weekends there's usually family stuff and who knows what's going on. So, but I'm going to try and do at least 1 stream a week. I'm going to have some amps for sale here pretty soon. Hope you can join me in doing some of these repairs. Hope I helped you. Hope you learned something. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.